Which light is better for your shop or garage? We ditch one and go with the other. Let's find out why. Today we're looking at the LANGY UFO style high bay LED light. This thing's 21,000 lumens and takes about 150 watts to power. Now let's go ahead and jump right in to take a look closer at all the details, and then we'll finish up, come back and talk about pricing. In front of us we have a couple of different style lights. We have the new LANGY UFO style high bay LED lights, and then we have your typical strip lighting that you can buy off the shelf. You can buy them all over Amazon, what have you, that has, some of them have single rows. This has a dual row, kind of V-shaped type of lighting. Now the problem here is we're not dealing with, say, a 6 or 8 foot ceiling height like you would in a home or a garage or something like that, or even 10 feet. You know, our eaves are somewhere around 12 feet, and at the peak they're like 16 feet. So you're really at that spot where you need to kind of convert to a high bay light, which then you get into, do you go into an LED UFO style light like we have here, or do you get one of the big metal halide lights that has a big old, you know, hoop style glass lens? And those are great, but again, they're very expensive, and wiring and all that type of stuff to install those are kind of a pain, and our ceiling height is, or our roof height is not quite high enough to really utilize those in a good way. So our alternative is, again, going back to the UFO style high bay lighting as we have right here. Now we were using this style here, which is like an 8 foot, kind of a T8 style. T8 would be more of a fixture with your fluorescent lighting or your LED converts, which we had before these. And then we mounted these, and these are really easy to mount. You know, screw the clips up in the wherever on the trusses or wherever you're putting them in the ceiling, and then these clip in. They're very easy to kind of daisy chain together, you know, with these little cords that you can chain several of them together, and then you can even have switches in them to turn them on and off and that sort of thing. And that's worked okay. But the problem with these, we just had to mount them everywhere to get good light coverage. I mean, I think we had like 36 of these things mounted in all sorts of different ways. And again, they work great, but really the issue we found with these is, let me turn one of these on. So I've got this on. Hopefully the camera's going to show this. Here's one that was up and we just took down, and you can see half the light is on. So you can see all these LEDs are on. Kind of some of them are out right here, and then both these rows down here are out. And you look all over, and just about every single one of them have this going on, where there's several different LEDs that are out, or half the strip's out, as you see here, or the complete strip is out. Don't know if that's a product of maybe, you know, we have a lot of thunderstorms, whether it's lightning, whatever, but we do have a metal building, although it is grounded very well. We've not had any other electrical issues, but these lights just seem to be very susceptible to going out, to the LED strips going out. So we needed a better solution. Yes, pretty easy to get up there and, you know, unclip one to replace them, but just kind of a pain when you're buying LED lights so that they'll last somewhat forever. So that was not the solution for us. So we thought, you know what, let's try the LANGY UFO style. And this is the 150 watt. I think they have a 120 watt or 100 watt. And then they also offer a 200 watt as well. Yeah, I think they have a 100, a 150, and a 200. This is the 150 watt version. I don't know how many LEDs are in here, but basically you get 21,000 lumen. And it's going to draw basically 150 watts to power to drive that 21,000 lumen. So to give you a better idea of size, this is right at 12 inches, right at a foot wide, a little less. So specifically, looks like 11 5/8 of an inch all the way across the light. So diameter is going to be 11 5/8. Yep, just shy of 11 3/4. And then as far as the height on it, that's pretty low. Don't know why that would be a big issue for you, but less than 4 inches even with the eye bolts on there. And what you see on this light here comes in the package. So you get the cord obviously on here. You get this eye bolt that comes with it, as well as the stainless steel safety cable as well. And we'll go over all these things here in one moment. And as far as weight is concerned, if you're concerned of, you know, where you're going to hang this, which again, if you're hanging it overhead, I doubt you have much concern, especially for something this light, but we'll still give it to you. 4 pounds, so 4 pounds, 5 ounces, so 4¼ pounds. This whole frame is aluminum, so it's made of aluminum, and we have the driver back here, so all of this is acting as a heat sink as well. So you got an aluminum housing here, an aluminum housing here, so your driver as well as your LED lights are going to be cooling off via these large heat sink fins built into the body of the light. Now let's take a look at what you get in the package. Before we get into the details of the lighting, let's take a look at a package. So here's a box here, and this kind of was a little bit of a pet peeve of mine, just to be honest and clear with you. So obviously styrofoam to protect it, and then when I take this out, so we get the light, we get the cable, we get the cord, but we get all that styrofoam that just likes to fall all over the place. So that just kind of bugged me a little bit. Not a big concern whatsoever, but if I'm going to be honest with you, I'm going to be honest with you. Then there's the eye bolt. That's pretty much the only loose thing other than this little instruction manual or specs guide, whatever, that comes with it. Everything else is already attached to the light. But just be careful in unboxing and kind of keep your box nearby to keep all those little dingleberries from floating all over you. Now, something else I noticed with the lights, a very simple install, very simple install. This is a threaded hole right here where this eye bolt goes. So nothing hard. There's a little screw right here that is basically a locking screw. So make sure that's loosened so it's out of that hole's range. And then the eye bolt is going to screw in here. Now this was another thing that we noticed. Some of these start very easy. That one starts fine. However, there are others, let's see if this is one of them, that you can tell where the eye bolts were just not cut really clean. Yeah, that's one there. So you can see the angle cut on that bolt. I did notice that it seemed that they actually kind of ground it and rounded it over so there's no sharp edges. But you can see, again, that's not the cleanest cut. It's a diagonal, so starting it straight's kind of a pain. In fact, on this one, I think I had to run my thread chaser on it to get that started. And one of the 12 that we actually got 12 of these. One of the 12 actually had no threads in here, so we actually had to fix that as well. So small stuff really, but just wanted to mention that you know, maybe there could have been a little better quality control on that as far as ensuring that threads were in there and that these bolts were cut even and straight so that they start easier. So again, nothing huge, just wanted to share with you what we found. Now hanging these is really easy as well, since we do have the eye bolt, but since it is a complete circle there, it's not just a hook, then we had to kind of figure out how we're going to hang them. And basically we took an S hook, so we bought some S hooks, probably at Home Depot or at Lowe's, and instead of just hanging it like that, we went ahead and took a big pair of channel locks, put them on there, closed it up, and so now that's not going to come off. And now we actually just used this and hooked it actually on the purlins up on our roof. The metal purlins, they have kind of a lip that sticks up, and we literally just hung that on there. And the reason we felt fine with that is because we also have a safety cable, which I thought this was pretty cool, and actually a really nice quality safety cable, because number one, it looks stainless steel, and so you run this through the fins like that, so the main body of the actual light, and then you can loop this through and act as almost kind of a lasso effect, or you can clip this on here. But also, to shorten that cable, all you have to do is push this cable through like this, and that cable bites. So it's got teeth in there, so all we got to do, we can shorten that cable up as short as we want to tighten up on that, so if the light falls, it doesn't fall very far. So that was a cool design there that they included that. And then if you want to loosen it, you just push this up. So it's spring loaded, so you can push that in and then pull that cable back out. They're pretty cool. It grabs there, but again, if I wanted to press that, I could pull that back out. So pretty cool safety chain design or safety hoop design to keep your light from falling on your head or something nice. Now let's talk about the details of the output and input of these lights. So we know that these are 150 watt lights, so that's what it takes to actually burn these. They're 21,000 lumen. And that's 140 lumens per watt. So 140 times 150 equals our 21,000. They are also 5,000K. So 5,000K, that's the color of our light. That's pretty much a natural sun color. That's not really blue like your 6,000K may be, and it's also not, you know, orange like a 3,000K may be. The 5,000K is going to be that sunlight, nice white color, very crisp, very sterile looking color, and that's what we're getting in this light. Now let's talk about power and how many of these we can put on our circuit, because that's what we were concerned with, because we have 12 of these. So let's look at 120 volts, and it's a 150 watt light. Well, we know that volts times amps equals watts, so we can take 150 and divide by 120, and so that will give us 1.25 amps. So we know each one of these lights is going to draw 1.25 amps. Well, if we have a 20 amp circuit, and we know 20 amps times 120 volts equals 2,400 watts. So our 20 amp circuit is able to handle 2,400 watts. So all we have to do is divide that 2,400 watts by the 150 watts, and that will tell us how many lights we can put on the circuit. Not really, because they say that, you know, you really shouldn't be maximizing that circuit all the time. So you kind of use the 80% rule. So 80% of 2,400 is going to give you 1,920 watts. So we can burn, so 80% rule, 1,920 watts. So we take our 1,920 and we divide by the 150 watts, and that's going to give us 12 point something lights. So on our 20 amp circuit, we can run up to 12 lights on that one circuit, and that's still putting us under that 80% rule of 1,920 watts. So that's pretty cool that basically I can run this whole shop on 12 of these lights and still be under that one circuit limit because I'm running a 20 amp circuit. Now, if you were running your typical household 15 amp circuit, now if we wanted to take our 15 amp circuit times 120 volts, then that's going to give us 1,800 watts. Okay, and then we take our 80%, and that's going to give us 1,440 watts. And then we divide our 1,440 divided by 150, and that's going to equal 9.6 lights. So we can run 9 lights on our 15 amp circuit. So 9 lights on a 15 amp or 12 lights on a 20 amp circuit is what we're going to get when we have these lights. So that's something you should really look at and kind of understand what your electrical box is going to allow you to run, what type of wiring you're running, what type of outlets you're running. We, again, have a 20 amp circuit, so we can easily run those 12 lights and be under that 80% rule. Now, in addition, what these lights do better than other lights is they offer a cone effect, and it's actually a 120-degree angle cone effect. So if this were 90 here, this line and this line, then this is going to give us about 120 degrees out like that. So that's going to be the cone effect of these UFO style lights, and it's going to disperse that light better than like all those strip lightings, as well as like, you know, T8 fluorescent lights, things like that. With those, you pretty much got to stack them everywhere. With these, as long as we're overlapping our cones, that's kind of the idea, is we want to overlap those cones so that we're always getting light in all these areas. And the higher these are, the better you are. Now, obviously, when we get 20 feet, 25 feet off the ground, that may diminish the further that light travels, but that cone effect gets even greater. So that's the important thing when you have higher ceilings, that you need a light that's actually going to disperse that light and overlap, and so you don't have those shadowy areas. And by the way, there's places online where you can input kind of your square foot area as well as what lights you're running, and it'll kind of show you the calculation of how many lights and how the lighting is going to affect the area and how bright things may get. Now also the cord on the light, we didn't talk about how long these are. If I'm not mistaken, I think they're about 5 feet long. So here we go here. Okay, so about 4.5 feet long, so 54 inches is going to be the cord length from the actual light to the plug, and you see we have 120 volt grounded plug as well. So we've been really happy with the install of these. Very easy to install. In fact, I'll take you up there here in a moment and we'll show you how easy it was to install these. Just get you some zip ties and some S-hooks, and easy to hang on a metal building like we have. And you can see here, we've got them spaced out pretty good. And you can see that, you know, what do we got? 4 across there. Now we did leave up some supplemental lighting there. And I'll tell you, the only reason we did that is for videoing purposes. We had a shadow line starting to form about right here, and you could see in the camera in the backdrop, and that's why we needed that. For working purposes, I don't think anybody would be bothered whatsoever. In fact, I almost left that out. But again, we could just notice in the camera that along our backdrop, we were seeing a little bit of a shadow line. So that's why we left these 4 fluorescent lights up, and this is kind of our videoing area most of the time. And then I don't have to set up any additional lighting or anything like that. But that's why you still see those strip lights up. It just, again, that cone effect really was taking effect about right here where it was hitting that wall, and so really wasn't hitting that well, and that's why we left these lights up. Otherwise, these are working really, really well, and they do a great job of doing kind of a complete coverage of what we need. So here's a typical installation for ours. So we have the LED light hanging here. We have the safety cable that goes through the body of the light and then wraps around, in this case, the conduit, and secured up there. And then we just have the cable then zip tied to our conduit. And like we mentioned, just our S-hook here that's hanging off the metal rafter here and secured by the O-ring there. And then we also tightened up that screw to just kind of clamp down on that. So our safety cable's holding it, our S-ring and ring is holding it. Good secure connection and easy to install. These LANGY 150 watt lights you can find on Amazon for about 68 bucks a piece. Now we needed 12 of them. The cool thing is you can buy them in a 4-pack for $225, so going to save you quite a bit of money. So our needed dozen lights in 3 4-packs is going to cost us about $675 all in. Now the only additional things we needed were some S-hooks and a couple of short extension cords like 8-10 feet. So that could change depending on how you're going to hang these. Very easy to hang, very easy to put up. We did have a couple of small pet peeves as we were, putting these together, things like that, things like the threading and the screws on the eye hooks or the threading on the eye hooks. We covered all that. But as far as any big problems, no issues whatsoever. I will tell you, I've seen some other high bays out there, particularly a friend of mine that's got a detail shop, and he noticed on a white car, he's like, I've got a yellow circle that won't come out of this paint. It ended up, it was the high bay light was casting a yellow circle from the center of his LED light. These do not do that. In fact, there's a light directly above me, and there is no discoloration at all, no shadow effect whatsoever, even in the dead center of this light. So look out for that. There's many of these out there on the market. Specifically, these did not have that issue. So check them out. We'll have a link in the description. Also, keep track of us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and even TikTok. And by all means, if you haven't done so already, would you hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't done so? And if you hated our video, then give us a thumbs down. But would you let us know in the comments why? Have a great day and keep smiling.